And woo, hot. Welcome this morning to the backyard. We're out here to work on some backyard bushcraft, and we're gonna put ourselves together a bow drill set and do our best to potentially get a fire going with it. So we got to go ahead and get some cottonwood. We're gonna have to get either a rock or a piece of cedar or oak or something for a bearing block. We're gonna have to get a holly bush to work on our bow, and then we're gonna need to get some other stuff to work on tinder, probably some cedar bark, and then a good length of cedar so we can split it up, make feather sticks and smaller tinder and everything like that. So come along, see what we can't do wrong. Okay, so I think this holly bush is going to give us what we want. We see it's got a nice Y up here, so we can chop it off right there. Put a loop from a bowline on it, and then bring it down here to a bend we have in it, and we can go ahead and tie off to that to create our bow. We got us a dead cedar tree here. We'll go ahead and get some of this bark off the side of it. We're gonna look for some longer strips to make our life easier, and then we can fluff that stuff up into a bird's nest. All right, so we're heading over here to a rocky spot to find us something to use for a bearing block, but take a second to look at this. This is actually, it's not really wide open, but a wild passion flower, and that's what this whole vine is here. So if you see something like this, and it's the right time, here in probably a couple weeks, maybe a month, these will start putting out passion fruits, which you see one right there. Tiny little passion fruit. And so that's just like what you can buy from the store, eating a smoothie or whatever. So put that out, you can break it open once it's mature and eat the seeds inside of it. They got like a gel around it that's really sweet, and if you want, you just spit the pits out. But without further ado, we'll go find ourselves a rock. Okay, we're just looking for one that might have a divot in it or a hole or something. Maybe a little something there. That might work. Here is dead piece of cedar, and we'll go ahead and grab a piece of that to make feather sticks out of and just use for a little bit larger tinder. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. We're looking for these serrated heart-shaped leaves. Those come from cottonwood, and cottonwood almost always located right next to a water source. So I think we see a couple of them over there. Let's go take a look. Okay, the other way, we can identify cottonwood trees. In this case, this one over here to the right, it looks like it's got a little life left in it. It looks like it's dying. They have this really, really deep, like that, a couple inches deep, the bark. Each ridge is very distinctive. And like I said, it grows right over here near a water source. So let's go find some dead wood that has fallen off this tree. So here's a piece right here. A little dirty, silty, but plenty dry. This should work just fine for our bow drill. We got all our supplies here. Over on the left, we have our holly bush that we're gonna process down to make our bow. Underneath that piece of oak, we have the cedar bark and some dry grass we're gonna fluff up, put together to make our bird nest. Next to that, we got our cottonwood, which we're gonna use to make our spindle and make our fireboard. Next to that, we got some rocks with divots in them that we're gonna use for our bearing block. We got some 550 cord here that we're just gonna use along with that hollow to make our bow. And then over here on the right, we got our piece of cedar that we're gonna split up, make some feather sticks out of, and a little bit of larger tinder. And maybe we'll see, we'll keep a piece of that with that nice resinous center that we might use as a bearing block if these rocks don't work out for us. Here is our initial product and our finished product. All right, so with that, I think our spindle's done. We got to point it in that is mostly tapered around, so there won't be too much friction here. This end is tapered all the way down, so there'll be a lot of friction at this end. That's the end that's going to go into our fireboard. Okay, right here we got our fireboard. We went ahead and made a divot in there, and we're going to go ahead and burn it in with our spindle, just so we know where we're going to notch out so we can catch that coal. Okay, so we burned into our fireboard right there. So now we're gonna cut our notch, about 1/8 of that circle right there. All right, so we got everything prepped. Let's go ahead and give this our best shot. I think we might be in luck. Transfer this coal carefully to our bird's nest. Tuck it in there. Give it some air. A little bit more air. Starting to get hot now. Get closer over here to our prepared material. Woo, hot. There we go. Now let's get our feather sticks on there quick. Give it a little bit of larger material as well. I'm not gonna lie, that was a lot of work, but it's a good example of how we can use natural materials to get a fire going when you're out in the woods. Of course, we had to use a knife, a machete, and a little bit of paracord for that bow, but the rest of the stuff, it all came from nature. No matches, no lighters, no ferro rod, nothing like that. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I appreciate it. Thank you for coming along, seeing what we can't get wrong.